and
Okay.
see what we can do about that.
All right. Thanks a lot, Ryan. Okay. Now I have to talk twice as fast, right? Okay, so what I want to do first, and then we'll look at Derek's program there on number 1. I think is what he did, but make sure that did start right. Yep. Okay, so inside here, if this will go ahead. We're going to look at the Evernote so I can make sure for the rest of the week so that you know what you're supposed to work on. Now, everyone took check, right?
So is there a way for us to go back and show what we got wrong so we can actually learn from our mistakes?
Actually, I can call that because no, if I do that, what happens? It gives you access to print them off. That's why I can't do that.
Like 70 and like, well,
Yeah, let me look at them and see. Let's look at it and see, because that would be a good review of the chapter too. Also, this is section 7996. Okay, so let me go ahead and do what I was going to do on Evernote, and then we'll look at the quiz. Because I went ahead and added a due date, so you would know. Come on. Beginning. Okay, so what we're going to go over, we're going to go over these 2 problems and some of the examples that I have in this chapter 6 examples file. And we won't finish all of chapter 6, but we'll get to the part where you'll be able to do the chapter work part 2. And so I put a due date here for next Monday, November the 10th. It says Monday, Tuesday, because in my Tuesday class, it's Tuesday, Thursday. Theirs is due the 11th. So this is not in your book. So any of them that you do at the end of the chapter will just help you understand functions better. But the only ones that are assigned is these here and then this one. Okay. All right. So any questions about that? Okay, so now we're going to go back and we'll look over the quiz here. Chapter 6. Get it to, I think it'll let me preview, maybe. Can look at a specific submission views. I think if I do this, there's preview. The only thing about this preview is it doesn't show me the correct answer that it did. Maybe you all can remember which one you answered. Okay, this one says, which of the below is not an advantage of, and that's even modelization allows many programmers to work on a solution. It allows you to reuse your work easily. Makes computer programs run faster. False. Okay, so everybody agreed with that one. First line of a method or function is method header. Good. Oops. Methods can contain variables and constants of their own. Statement did the same job, the greater is the cohesion. Good. One method call or invokes, one method can call or other, could have said it a little clearer than that. True, that's true. Well, it should have said, I didn't know the way it's worded. These, I did not write these questions, so I should go back and look at them better. One method can call or invoke another method is what that should say. And that should be true. I'll go back and we can look at y'all's and see which ones you missed.
All right, so on this next one,
Mm-hmm.
is it 2 parameters or all the above?
Methods can take all of the above.
Because if you take 2 parameters, you can take 1 parameter.
Right. And the ones that we did, like with display address info, has 0 parameters, right? Okay, in which type of method call is the call method gets the address of the original variable? That's correct. Pass by reference. Pass by value is what we're going to actually use in our programs because we're going to pass the actual value of the variable. But you can pass by reference. It just says where it's at in memory. That's used a lot in arrays, is pass by reference. Okay, methods must always return a value. False. Because the display address info, if you output within the method or the function, you don't need to return a value. You need what you're doing in there. Programming languages match each to the most correct answer. Pass by reference, describe parameters received by 4. Yes, 4. Okay, that one's 4. Parameters is data items sent to methods. Arguments are the data items received by methods. So when they're passed from the main method into another one, it's called a parameter. They're received in that header, it's called an argument. Okay? Okay, so did y'all get, do you know what it, well, I'll look at the answer and make sure it graded you right. Then pass by value is the other one. What is it, 3? No, 2. Yeah, because that's an actual copy of the variable. Okay, so I told it to you backwards. Okay, what'd you say?
Could you look at my quiz?
Yeah, I can look at each one that wants me to and see what you're.
Yeah, I did the first two.
Okay, come on.
Yeah, it says yes.
Why is, where's my okay, so there it
You
is.
missed one on the last one, you got it all wrong. I gave it easy partial quiz.
I think so.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how bad it's great.
Because, I mean, there's just 10 points, so that's 10 questions. I don't know.
Okay, Derek, wanted to look which one he missed. Yeah, I know. I shouldn't put that up on the screen, huh? That's the only way that I can let you see it. Okay, he missed. You don't know which one, right? Okay, so yeah, you put them one.
Which one did I put? Which one is the right?
Okay, 3. You put argument.
I put 3 or is it?
Oh, and they should have been 1, 2, 3, 4. I guess they were in the right order. Is that right?
No, because look, your arguments was down on the 3rd one.
Yeah.
Parameters should be 2. Argument should be 1. Is that what you read in the book?
Well, how can see? And that's what I heard. I don't know.
It's in the back. Yeah, I
Yeah,
went word for word in the back of what's in the book.
I went by the definitions. I thought I had it.
Okay, these are, okay, you put for are the data items received by methods. Is that correct? No. Okay, then you put for parameters number 1, which is data items sent to methods. And that should be this one. Then you put 4 for pass by value, and it should have been,
Okay, I see what
Okay, so now you know which one you missed. Actually, that was pretty good that you only got counted one wrong. Okay, let's see. Who else wants to see theirs?
Mine, 7.
Brandon likes right here.
So is that what you're using?
Okay, that one's right. The call method gets the address of the original viewer. And then you just you switch those two, I guess. Should be 4, 1, 3, 2. Oh, that's what it is. It's in a different order. Okay. So you actually only missed, you really should have got half, right? It wasn't any different. Okay, so who else wanted to see what they missed? Anybody else?
If you want to go back to that question mark, the past value, someone read it real quick. Yeah, I like it.
This one?
Yeah. Because if you look up the definitions for this, I think that's the definition of pacified value. No, it's not correct.
Yes. Because see, reference means memory address. Value means whatever's sitting in that variable, the value that's sitting in it.
I looked on
Okay. All right, so what we want to do first is Derek wants number 1, his number 1. So number B on page 245, what type of functions are we? Is it going to be one where you have to return a value, or is it one and have parameters, or is it one where it's just a function that does everything within that function? Okay, in A, part A, do you return a value in part A? Let's read the problem. Create the logic for a program that calculates and displays the amount of money you would have if you invested $5,000 at 3% interest for 1 year. Create a separate method to do the calculation and display the result. So would there be any need in that function to return a value, or in that method? It says the only separate method is to do the calculation and display the result in the method. So you're not going to need to return a value, right? Because it's done in the method. So what's going to be in the main method? The call to it.
Okay. So you can look at my sheet.
Yeah, well, look, okay. I wanted to read the
Because I think I
one.
got the idea, I just didn't really know how to call for it, I guess.
Okay.
And Khan Academy has lessons on this stuff?
Yes, functions. It's called functions. Yeah. Khan Academy has one called functions. And it tells you that we've already been using predefined functions like we talked about last time. We talked about that we used toFixed, and we've used is not a number. And also we found them at W3 schools. Remember, anytime you want to use predefined functions, if you go to the JavaScript tutorial and you look here, these are methods that are, here's one called functions here, but if you want to see some predefined ones, here's some string methods, and they're all listed like, that's one, string str.slice, the substring method str.substr. Those are predefined methods that are there. There's one called concat method, which will let you put 2 text fields together. Okay, so there's a lot of neat ones out here that are already coded. Here's accessing a string as an array. So these are methods that you can get to, predefined methods. Okay, let me find Derek's. Yeah, that's there's a link to it, or I talk about it in Evernote. So this is chapter 6. Okay. Okay, so, oops, I don't know what that is coming up. There it is. All right, so this one says 150. Let me go a little bigger so we can see it. All right, so this is Derek's number 1. And this, in number 1, if you do it straight down without, okay, you didn't know how to make a call, is what you were saying. Okay, so the only thing you would do here is, in this particular case, you wouldn't even need that statement, because that's not, if you were just executing it, here's your variables. Actually, your output should say interest, or you need a totals field, right? Or an amount field, or whatever you want to call it. So you need a var total, maybe, equals 0, because it tells us to calculate the total amount, right? Well, yours is called output. Yeah, it's increasing, so it needs to be initial plus initial times interest.
Well, I did my interest at 0.97 instead of 0.3. Or,
Oh. Yeah, you have to say 0.03. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's 103%. You can do it multiple ways.
Yeah, and so if you did it this way, that would get it, or what most of them do is take that and then say.
Instead of output, should I put that? Oh, you changed it.
I went ahead and changed it because you already had output there. So now this is without a function, right? This is doing it without a function. So, oh, you've got output instead of, yeah, we probably ought to make this total and then output. Total. And then we want to only output total. So we'd say output, what do I call it? Total, right? So that's the pseudocode. We only need one return. Okay, no, I'm sorry. This one is without a function. This is what it would look like, right? Without a function. So what does it tell us to create a separate function for what? Where you the calculation and displaying the result. So that would be these two statements, right? Right? So I'm going to take these two statements, pull them out, and I'm going to put them at the top of my pseudocode. In the book, they usually put the functions at the bottom, but in JavaScript, they need to be in the top. So I usually put them in the top here. So this is the name of it, and it's not passing anything. But what do we have to say? We have to say either method or function. In JavaScript, we call it function. And then it would put these two here and then return.
And that's inside the main.
No, that's not inside the main.
Okay,
So right.
Up, my main is right there.
Okay, let's take the main out. Oops. And the main should go below where the function is. And there shouldn't be a start there either. I'll take that out. So this shouldn't go there. Okay, so this is where your main starts. Now, what do we need to do? Main and return. here's his declarations, then how do we get to that function? Have to make a call to it, right? Just like in your book, we did it with the first problem on page 210, where they pulled display address info out, right? See how they did it in the pseudocode, which is what you had done. So all I have to do is take this. Oops, that should not have been there. It should be below that. There we go. And that's all I have to do. So the program actually starts here, does the declarations, then it says make a call to display investment. So it finds the function, display investment, calculates and outputs total, then returns back to the main, which is already at the end, right? Nothing afterwards.
So the functions go first.
In JavaScript, I think in here they put them after, don't they? Your pseudocode would be correct if you put it after. But when we get ready to JavaScript, it has to
The
be.
way I got it from the book was we put the variables in with that function.
Okay, you can, because what we're going to do is always local variables right now, and we're going to talk about that here in just a minute. I'm going to finish lecturing over, it starts on 212, declaring local and global variables and constants, and that'll tell the difference. But you notice this problem that they showed in the book on 210 did not actually have any variables. Okay, so on this one, you can either put them all. Okay, so let's do it this way, because actually it is better to have it in the function, because otherwise you have to pass it. You are correct on that.
So then there's like nothing inside.
Nothing except the call.
So it'd be like main call.
Right, and return. That's all there is to that one. So now if I go over,
Do the variables go after the function, the first function?
no, they need to go, see, you say
Oh, function,
function,
and then
display
your-
investment, then your declaration. So I actually should have moved that up there too. Declarations is your comment. Oops. Should be here. There's your declarations. And then your calculation, then your output, then return to main, which there's nothing to do after the function. Because remember, that's what it shows you on page 210. It returns directly after. Well, in this program, they show there's actually a couple of statements left in main.
Basically, I kind of had it where I just had it in my main down the function up.
Yeah.
It's kind of what I did. I just didn't put the function
In there. Okay. So this is how you would do it. And let me show you the JavaScript. So let's go, because I do have.
So what does the return do? It just sends you back?
Yes. It sends you back.
And for that you would like return, or like, is there anything?
No, like I'll show you. That's what I'm going to show you the JavaScript for it here. Just
So
a
the
second.
0.03, that does 3%.
Mhm.
Oh no, wait.
Okay, let's see. Where did I put chapter?
It's your investment total times that, then it has to be plus that 3%.
Okay,
How
here's.
do you do without doing
1.03, 103%.
establish it as the 3% plus?
Yeah. It'll be the original amount. Was 103%.
Okay, so this one has different names. Like this has different names than your pseudocode did. So and so it's a little bit different, but it's actually laid out exactly like your pseudocode. It's the program starts here, but you don't have a main in JavaScript. You don't put a main. So the program actually starts right here, executes, makes a call to a function called calculate total. So it goes up here, declares the variables, does the calculation, and then does the document.write line right there. and prints out the total, and then returns down here to the main and ends. And you see there's no, this function is from here to here, but this is where the actual program starts. This is actually supposed to be in Evernote. I will drag it over there. It was the end of class yesterday and I forgot to do that. So this one that we're going over.
You want Java on A and B?
No, actually we're doing, you don't have, I think the assignment says, let me look. I think it says that we're doing it in class.
So you don't want pseudocode or do you?
Pseudocode or flowchart, I think it
It
says.
says and JavaScript. So I just want to make sure.
Yeah, or flowchart. Oh yeah, you can, yeah, okay. But we're doing them in class, so all you have to do is, I'll put A here, but I'm not gonna put B here. Where did I?
You want to do B?
Yes, and we'll look at that. Let me see, where is this?
So don't worry about A Java. Just do B.
Right. Yeah, because what B says to do is modify the interest calculating program so the calculated value is returned to the main program where it is displayed. So the only thing that has to change is inside the function, it calculates it, but it needs to return this total down here and write it out. So this statement would move in the main section.
So does it automatically take that total and take?
No, you have to return it. You would say return total.
Return total.
And then that total has to be known as a variable over here. See that it's not defined in the main. So when you're in, that's something we're going to talk about right here in local and global. Let's go, and it'll make more sense because when you return, this talks about on page 212, declaring local and global variables and constants. And I'm also going to bring this PowerPoint up. Okay, so we're down to right here. No, that's not it. Thought it was, yeah, this is it. Okay, so what we're going to look at is declaring variables and constants within methods. So any statements can be included in the methods. You can have input, you can have processing steps, you can have if then else's, nested loops, outer loops. Whatever you want can be in your methods. You can have variables and you can have constant declarations inside your functions. Okay, so variables and constants that are declared within a method, they are usable only within that method. And that's what it's telling you on page 213, is that variables and constants declared in a method are usable only within that method, and usually they're called local data items because they're only known to that function. So if you declare them in main and then you call that calculate total function, whatever was in main is not known in calculate total. Okay, so wherever you declare them, that's where they're visible. And sometimes these are the terms that programmers use. They're considered local, in scope, or visible. They go out of scope or cease to exist when the method ends. So in our calculate total here, when this function ends right here, all of these variables cease to exist. So when I go back here, I can't do anything with total. So let's look at that. Let's try that. Let's play with this a minute. Okay, I've got amount. Okay, so I'm going to go down here and I'm going to say alert, print out, amount, invest. And let's see if it does anything. What do you think it's going to do? Think it's going to print out anything? Probably print out garbage. Let's see. This is your total, and it didn't even do the alert. It didn't even go down there and do the alert. Huh. Okay, so what happened is that it doesn't even know what this is once you leave this function. So if I go here and say return, what do I call it, total? Okay, now here's what I can do. I can say, let's say amount equals calculate total, and I'm going to inside here say variable amount equals 0. Okay, so what this should do is it should put the variable that I'm returning should be placed in this variable amount. Okay, so which variable is local to the main function? Right, AMT. And so which variables are local to calculate total? Correct. So these three, if I try to print out total here, I say document, or I can just say alert total, and I'm going to say then do amount. It shouldn't put anything in total because it doesn't know it as total in the main function, right? Actually, I'm going to put this. Yeah, that'll be right. Okay, let's see what happens. This is your total 5150. It doesn't even look like it goes back, does it? Does it return? It doesn't even look like it's returning. So it didn't even return. Well, I really don't know. Okay, I'm going to do this. See what happens now. That should return total to there. Let's see if it. So it did do it. See? What it did is it went to calculate total up here. It executed it, returned the variable total, and placed it in the reference of amount, right? Placed whatever this value was into the variable called amount. And because then it printed it out here, and then it printed it out here, right? This return, you mean? Well, it will return whatever variable you put there that is only known in here, okay? So whatever variables are known here, I could have also just, oops. Oh, not interest, invest. So I could pass this into here and it should print out 5,000 here, right? Isn't that what should happen? Okay, so let's see if that's what happens. Everybody agree that's what should happen? What's the value of AMT invest? 5,000. So it says to return AMT invest into. Where? Yeah, it defines it as 0. Then it executes this function up here. And when it goes through here, the only thing that I'm passing is this, so it's going to set,
Yeah.
okay? Yeah, it resets the well, it actually assigns, because that's an assignment operator, right? You follow? Okay, let's see if that's what it does. That's what we think it should do. It did, right? So that's the best way to learn about parameters of return values and local and global variables, is to actually play around with it until you can understand. So figure 6-3 on the next slide shows declarations within a method. So this is figure 6-3 in your textbook on page 213, if you can't see this one. And what it's saying is there are 3 named constants that are declared within the method. So what they did on those 3 address lines that we had display address info, they've given them variable names. So here they say string line 1, string line 2. Ours would say var line 1, var line 2, var line 3. And if you output here, then it will have these values in there. If you don't output here, then line 1, line 2, line 3, if you put these 3 boxes over here, it wouldn't print anything out because it only knows what these variables are while it's inside the function, right? So these are these called local or in scope, or what are these? Line 1, line 2, line 3, are they local variables? Yes, they're local variables to the function display address info. Okay. All right, so that one, if you look at the top of page 214, it also tells us that variables and constants declared within main, are local to main, and they cannot be used in a method. So this one that we defined, AMT equals 0, it's defined in the main, so it cannot be used up in this function, right? That's what that statement is telling you. Global variables are accessible to the entire class. So in your book, instead of, you see they call on page 213 at the flow chart at the top, they call it class billing program. That's because that's C++ coding, okay? C++ was the first object-oriented language. And so C++, you create classes and then they're cataloged in libraries. So the only variables that you can get to for class billing program would be the ones that are defined inside that class. And that's what that's telling you. We're not going to use global variables on the ones we use because it's too hard to figure out. When methods must share data, then you pass the data into and return data from the method. And so the one that we just did, we returned data from the method. Now, if we wanted to pass it into, we could go over here. We could put these variables down here. But when we pass them here, okay, they would be called invest and comma. Now, these are parameters or arguments that are being passed. So up here, they can't be called that. I have to call them something else. So I'm going to say var, because they're not known up here. So I'm going to say var invest and var So when they're passed up here, I have to say invest, comma, int. And so down here, they're going to be plus. My total should stay the same. Let's see, and I'm going to change. Do I have amount coming? Okay, right here. I want to pass back total. The second, I'm going to save this so I don't copy over that first one. 1A return. Oops. Okay, what'd you ask down there? How do they know?
Like whenever you got total equals invest plus invest times int, it's not set for anything.
No, what it does is when you make a call to this function name and you pass these two parameters, the first one is going to go into the first one here. It doesn't care what the name of it is. And the second one's going to go here. So you've got to be sure that you put them up in the right order that you want. Okay, and so then they need to be, and actually you can define them this way too. You can say var here and var here. Why is it giving me an error? Doesn't like that. I know you can do it that way, but it's giving me an error that I don't want to figure out what it is. So let's see if this works. So I'm going to go over Google Chrome, save. This is your total. Oh, I didn't take the document.write-line out of there, but it did work. Let me take the one out of here because I don't need it down here. Or no, I don't want it. Okay, so what's happening is these variables are local to this main part of the program, and these are local to this function or method. But I can return and pass this way. So if I go here, now it should only print it out once. There it is. Okay, I'm going to also put this one over in Evernote so y'all can look at it. If I can figure out where I put it. Spring, CIT. Okay, there is, that's the one that we did in class then, right there. So it's going to be in there also. Let me see, I really need to move it up, but it didn't let me. That is the JavaScript to that one that we just played with right here where we put, that's this one. Oh, that other one? It's A. It should be A. Oh, did I change it? Is it not? Let's see.
B is modify the interest calculated program so the calculated value is returned.
Oh, yeah, I messed up A. Okay, let me fix it. So it'll be this. It shouldn't have that, right? And it should not have this. And it should have that. So 1A should just be like that. So file, save. Let me make sure that I put the right one in Evernote. That would be this one. Should be deleted. Oh man. Spring. CIT. No, it probably has, because it does teach JavaScript too. I mean Java, so it probably has a compiler somewhere. But the ones like JavaScript, what it does at W3 Schools, it lets you try it and shows you when you change something, it shows you right on the right. Like it's like clicking on the globe in TextPad. It's like a little editor, try it editor in it.
In Excel, my dad was saying there's something like in Excel.
Excel. Now, Daniel and Seth, they use Excel in engineering, but some of the logic you can test in Excel, but I'm not sure.
W3 Schools is probably the best.
Yeah, W3 Schools is just another learning tool, kind of like Khan Academy, but it's more inclusive of, did I leave it up here? Yeah. It has the reason it's called W3 Schools because it's produced by the W3C Consortium, which is the committee that governs the web. Okay, so all of the code here, like when you go to JavaScript tutorial here, is W3C compliant. So here's hundreds of JavaScript examples. It says JavaScript reference, start a JavaScript quiz. So there's a lot of stuff out there. It's not as inclusive, like if you haven't had an introduction to JavaScript, it's kind of hard to follow sometimes because they don't put a lot of details, is what students was saying. So, okay, we did declaring, and then what we actually, that last one that I posted in Evernote is this one on page 2, where we start creating methods that require parameters. And here's what your that quiz item was: a data item passed into a method from a calling program is called an argument to the method, or more simply, an argument. When the method receives the argument, it is stored in a parameter in the method header. So that's what we just did here. We passed from from the main function, we passed these two arguments and the two main views, okay? So that's what it's talking about there. Argument and parameter are closely related terms. A calling method sends an argument, accepts the value as its parameter. Oh. Thank you. I'm going to do it again. I usually sneeze 3 times. Okay. So these are ones that you're going to do to call a square method. Page 215, it says to call a square method that accepts a parameter statement like square 17 or square sub 86. So let me look here, right here. Here's what we covered: arguments, parameter, and you want to display preceding the name and address on the bill. If the balance is over 1,000, then you can rewrite the program to eliminate this method and place all statements within main, or you can retain this method but make the balance variable global by declaring it outside any methods. And that's what they did here. There's the different approaches. Figure 6-4 is the one where they put a decision box in here and they put it inside this method, but you notice they're passing balance. And this is on page 216 in your textbook. But see, what they're doing is they declared name and balance in the main section. Then they're passing it into a field in the header called amount due. And so inside this function, they're testing amount due. If it's greater than limit, which is 1,000, then they're outputting a message, and then the address is being displayed. So this is on their bill. This is the billing program, and they want to know if their balance is greater than 1,000, then they're outputting a message. Okay, so that's where you're passing parameters. passing by value and passing by reference is on page 218. An argument can be passed by value. That's where there's the example of that program, how if you ran it. Okay, so that's still what we were just covering. Okay, so here is the one that is passing, what's this one? 6-6. Okay, this is the method here, a program that calls a method in which the argument is passed by value. And that's what we just did. We passed the actual variable, where's it at? Add 86, my val, and they went ahead and left it the same name as it was here. They declared it right on my val. Same name, but it's not the actual variable that was defined here. That's why I don't like to do that. You really not use the same name over here that you use here. Here and goes over the value passed into whatever placeholder you've named it here. Both places, yes, the same name. That's what it's doing there. And that has by, but then there's one passed by reference, and that's over on page 221, a program that calls a compute tax method. Is this one it? Did I go down too far? Oh, that's just returning a value, I think. Yeah, here it is. Okay, so this one is passing balance and rate into amount and rate. Is this the one that's by reference? Figure 6-8. No, this one just requires 2 parameters. They don't actually show an example of one that's passed by reference because we don't use those in this section. But what you need to do to review what we just went over is to look at that author's video called Methods with Parameters. Y'all know how to get to those? Okay. Because that will explain, and that's where we'll start next time, which we've actually already done it, creating methods that return a value. So we shouldn't have to go over any of that. So the only part that we're not going to do is on page 228, passing an array to a method. We're not going to do that, but we are going to talk about overloading methods on page 232. And so that's really where I'll need to go on whatever day that is. Okay, so on Monday, your assignment is to have that number 2 done, and then we'll go over it in class. Okay? All right, see you later.